Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud.
And Famous Dave.
And this is Spies, Lies, and Allies, episode 19, The Decision, the final. And I got to say this, Dave, before we get into it really, it was watched by 0.72 people. It's actually
less than a person.
It's actually the most watched episode of the season. So there you go. Go for them, right?
I guess it's the final. I feel like it should be more than that, but
oh no, I agree. Like this is for the season, so in the context of the season, it hasn't really been watched a lot. So, but it is kind of rare that the final is the most watched episode of the season. The last time it happened was Free Agents. So there you go. Yeah. Star power, is that what everyone's tuned in for and shit?
I have no idea. I think the majority of the people watch it over the internet or other ways than cable TV ratings. So
okay, I'm just saying, like, you know, this just happened to be watched the most out of the entire season. And for me, this is how I was going into it. I'm like, I just want to see CT get that fifth win. You know, it just seemed inevitable because he's in a movie now. You know what I mean? Like after Bananas won his fifth, that's when he was like on American Dad and shit like that. And he's like, I'm Johnny Bananas and I won the challenge 5 times.
He was on American Dad?
Yeah, and he got to hang out with Roger and shit.
Love Roger. Damn it, now I hate him.
But that's what happens, man. As soon as you win 5 of them, you graduate. You go on to bigger things. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was saying it all year long. I'm like, I don't understand why everybody in the house was leaving CT there. I'm like, he's just gonna beat you in a final, so you should get rid of him. And I said that all year. You remember me saying I had no spoilers. I did not. All I knew was if he's in a final, he's probably gonna win it, and he did.
Well, truth be told, we've only recorded like 3 episodes for this whole season, so I haven't heard you say it all year, technically.
Oh, well, my girlfriend Brooke is hearing me say it every week, where I'm like, why is CT safe? I'm like, Devin switched to his team or something. I'm like, Devin's going to be the mole and get rid of CT. And then, like, nope, never happened.
Yeah, we needed... It's just the way it was structured in terms of like veterans versus rookies. And then after that, we were led to believe, or all the guys were led to believe, that they are going to run a final with CT. It was only at the very fucking end where they're like, okay, it's actually guy-girl partners at the end. Like, how could you have ever possibly guessed that, you know?
I guessed it, but...
Well, yeah, sure, but I don't know. I think it was kind of screwy.
Part of being on the cast is when like TJ like changes up the rules. They're all like shocked and like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that coming. It's like, this is your 7th season. This happens like every year. They switch teams up. Like, you should be expecting it by now.
Dave, I think if you were on the show, the producers would be like, never show his reaction to all these twists and shit because you're just stoic the whole time.
You're
like
roll,
dead inside.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah. You're all sarcastic the entire time and producers just fucking hate you. They're like, can we do a purge right now and put Dave in something that he's not good at? Like, get him out of here. He's making fun of our show.
He's gonna put me in a hall brawl against Fessy. It's just like, oh, take him off on a stretcher. Bye, Dave.
Yeah, and they're like, make it even dirtier than that Nelson fight. I mean, just fucking really gouge his eyes out. We'll look the other way. It's fine, you know. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, so the name of the game at the beginning, before we pressed record, was Speed, Dave. So let's fucking get into the final itself.
All right.
Okay, so we have Purple Cell versus Orange Cell. We know the teams, but I'll say it out loud. CT, Tori, Devin, and Emmy are on Purple Cell. I thought it was bullshit because they were the top 4 people, and all of a sudden they're working together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Orange Cell is Nelson, Casey, Kyle, and Nani. So we're going to talk about the first checkpoint that I have. I don't know what it's called, but it's extremely complex. There's like a metal crate with ropes entangled, so you have to untangle that. Then you have to memorize symbols, but then you swim out into the lake without a life
Life
preserver,
vest,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. And then you swim down, you memorize those symbols, you pop back up, and I think the symbols are on the side of the mountain or something like that. It was very complex. Yeah, very elaborate. All I have written down outside of that is that's when Nelson was like, I can't do this. And he turns around, he has to get help.
Yeah, it's very disappointing because Nelson has had trouble swimming in a final before, and this was just a repeat of that.
Our
And
theory was that he lost invasion to CT by swimming, right? Wasn't that our
yeah,
theory?
well, because they didn't totally show it in the final, but that's what a lot of people were saying on Twitter. Like during that final episode and after it, they were saying that he had trouble with the swimming section, and that's when CT caught up. I mean, Nelson should be able to, like, you can go to a YMCA and pay $50 and get swimming lessons. Like, and you're like, I'm like watching him and he's like in the water. It's like he's trying to walk through the water. He's not swimming. Like, I don't know what he's doing with his legs. His arms are like, he's swatting at the water. There's no form.
I think I think it was the lifesaver, life preserver, whatever it's called. What is it called? A
Life
lifesaver, right?
vest, life preserver.
Life
And
vest.
maybe Nelson has only learned to swim with a life jacket on. So once you take it off, his sense of balance is off. And he's like, usually it just like, it makes me, because like you want to be a little more level with the water. But Nelson's kind of more in a standing up position in the water, and you can't really swim like that. So he didn't know to like bring his hips and his legs up, because usually the life jacket will kind of help you do that on its own.
I actually was like freaked out. I was like, oh, he technically quit, I thought, because he had to get help. Remember, produce some person on a boat helped him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was like DQ'd or something, but
It didn't seem to
the
matter.
rest.
It was just like, oh, okay, well, you're back on land now. Start running again. And it was just like, okay, is there a time penalty or something? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess the rest of the team had to do everything else in the water and do all the memory and shit. Yeah, Nelson didn't help there, but I feel like Nelson is going to try and make up for that hardcore for the rest of this final, which is one of the things I really loved about this final. Before we recorded, I was like, Dave, how do you feel? And you're like, I didn't like it. And I was like, I felt some positive surges throughout. So let's get into checkpoint number 2 of the second thing they have to do, where they have to carry that big ass torpedo.
Mm-hmm.
It's awkward and shit, especially if everyone's like not the same height and stuff like that. That's when purple team, all the strong dudes start to slow because of Devin, and that's when orange team surpasses them. I'm like, holy shit, this is nuts. How are you feeling about your boy Devin? Are you just like, dude, come on?
It's exactly what I expected. I don't know. Like, I've always wanted, Devin to be good, but like he's not. He can't figure out cardio in the same way that Nelson can't figure out swimming. It's just like it's not his thing. He can't do it. So it was interesting because the teams were formed based off of like kind of a puzzle endurance challenge, but mainly it was whoever finished that puzzle first ran to that block. So you have was it purple team? I don't remember which team was which. The purple team is the first place team who was really good at the puzzles. And then you have the orange team, which is Nelson's team, and Nelson, Nani, and whoever, Kyle,
Casey.
and Casey.
Yeah.
They're the 4 people who aren't good at puzzles. So like when they were doing like that cube with a rope intertwined in it, like it was Nani was the one who was like, we got to flip it over and then we can do it. And then they're like, oh yeah. And it was like, well, duh. Like Nani was the best puzzle person on the team. And I'm like, that's not a good thing. Like, not that Nani is bad at them, but when she's the only voice of reason when it comes to a puzzle and the other three people can't really help at all. That's not good.
If Nani's the voice of reason in any situation, I think is a bad thing. You're like, oh God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Orange Team, they're more muscle heads, let's say that, right?
Yep.
So they're able to carry this torpedo and get to this puzzle, and they have so much time, but it's not gonna fucking work. This is where they have to use that. There's like a bunch of torpedoes, and you have to like make 3 squares. I'm pretty sure I've heard of this before, and I think I've done it. So I think I could have like fucking done it real quick.
Yeah. It was pretty simple. Like, I think it was super simple, but maybe that's just me looking at the answer and then figuring it out. But if you need 3 squares, a square has 4 sides. So that would be, you need 12 sides total. 3 times 4 is 12 in order to build these 3 squares. And it like CT looked at it and CT knew immediately. He's like, oh, we got to do this. And CT just went up and did it. And I feel like that's how I would have been, but who knows? Because the musclehead team, as you were saying, they couldn't figure it out. And Nelson was like, well, why don't we put a triangle over here and then, or we'll do a rectangle here. And it's like, no, it needs to be squares, not rectangles or triangles.
My thing was like, at least he's throwing out some, ideas. Again, Nelson is like gonna make up so much. He's like what's his name? Rogan. Remember when Rogan would never he would never forgive himself for dying on Gibraltar Mountain
Oh,
or
yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
He always had that huge ass chip on his shoulder, like he was cursed by it. He was always like, no, I'm never gonna take the easy way out or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
Nelson is just like, I am so sorry guys for not swimming. That's how I lost Invasion, Twitter says, so he's just gonna like go all for it, and he's like, he's throwing out these shapes, like, what if this works and stuff, So even though they're not right, I appreciate the passion. That's what I'm getting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, because Nelson is a beast in eliminations and like endurance wise, physicality, like he's super strong for his size. He's great, but his problem is the puzzles and the swimming. So if he's going to succeed in the final, he needs to have a partner that can help him. And he had 3 partners, and none of these 3 partners could really help him. It was like normally if you were like in duos and you had Nelson as your partner, you're like, hell yeah, that's a great partner to have. But somehow they managed to he got partnered with 3 people that were all, nobody could help him.
yeah. And Kyle was there, and he's like, this is shit. Like, these are nothing but puzzles. He was like saying like, I can't do this. So he was already saying like, I'm not a puzzle guy. The one thing I do remember, CT saying, like, he's like, I have a son now, and what we actually do together, one of our bonding things, is that we just do puzzles all the time. So that has to fucking, CT is constantly flexing, doing power squats for puzzles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the third thing, where they have that giant ball with like stuff in it. Like, I think it's all their sleeping gear inside that ball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that
Okay.
was in there. I just thought it was random stuff.
Exactly. So this is the thing, though. So to me, that has to be awkward. It could probably throw the ball around, right? It's like having beads in a ball. I don't know. I'm getting lost, but like, because the thing is, it's kind of hard. Nelson overzestfully just shoves it. He's like, hopefully, it just rides that path, but it just goes over the rocks, into the ditch. But by the time that purple gets to the end, they are carrying those bags. They took it out of that ball. So that I feel like that had, like, I don't think that was allowed. They just did it. That's my theory.
I thought
Because
they
I
got
think
to
those,
like a finish line or whatever, and then they could take it out, right?
Yeah, but I think they were supposed to leave those in there because of how difficult it made rolling that ball. You know, I don't know. That's my idea, anyways.
I'm confused. So they took their bags out and then they were still pushing the ball afterwards?
Yeah, that was before they got to the end of that thing. Like they did it because they were already carrying their bags by the time they reached the finish line, is what I'm saying. So somewhere in between, when Nelson and them were struggling with their ball with the stuff inside a ball, sperm.
Yeah.
The other team, they were just like, "Hey, we gotta fucking release the beast. We gotta get the
Oh
poison out."
God.
Well, it's like that scene from There's Something About Mary. You're going in there with a loaded gun. Uh, I don't know. I strongly feel that they thought their way around this thing by taking those items out.
Okay, I didn't see it that way at all. I guess I didn't
Uh,
pay attention to that, and it just seemed to me that it was the rocky terrain and like the grade of the hill, the slant to it that they were trying to that was making it difficult. But maybe it was the shit inside the ball as well.
yeah, I mean the shit in the ball didn't help, is what I'm saying. So when they did take it out, that's an edge right there.
Well,
So Nelson, yeah.
I was just confused at why they weren't all standing on separate sides of the ball trying to push it. Because, like, generally there was like two people on this right side and two people behind it. Then there's no one on the left side to kind of help guide it if it ends up getting pushed that way, which it inevitably would, and it would start rolling off that way. And it was like, duh, you have to stay on all sides of it. But it's hard to stay on all sides of it if it starts to go towards that edge of the road. Then if you were on that side, you're just going to fall off the side, into the ditch. And those are some pretty nasty boulders and rocks everywhere. So somebody could have seriously gotten hurt. Thankfully didn't. But
Yeah, it was tough. Like when Nelson threw that ball, when you just decided to roll it out, when it got into that ditch, like that was really deep. And yeah, lots of boulders and rocks and shit. It was very difficult to get that thing out of there and back onto the path. What I have to say though, overall, just before we get to the overnight thing, why is there so many puzzles? There's so many other things that you could be tested on. The food, where's the eating challenge?
exactly. That's what I wanted to get to. Where was the
Yeah.
eating portion? It could have easily been done in this portion of the challenge, but it wasn't.
Yeah, and there's also so many other things. There's like the balance beams in the ruins. There's the thing in the duel where you had to like put weight on a seesaw and you had to like put in your right amount, just different sort of shit. But it's just puzzle after puzzle after puzzle the entire season. No wonder why CT won so many times. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna have puzzles like that, give CT the fucking win, But and who else was really good? Fucking Cara Maria. She was
Hmm.
really good at puzzles. Yeah. So
Yeah,
there's
she
other
won her
shit,
season
guys.
because it was like her versus Zach in the final in a puzzle. And it was, she's really good at puzzles. That's how she defeated Johnny Bananas and Bloodlines. Well, her and Jamie did.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
And that's gonna be. I mean, well, is memorizing 20 digits a puzzle?
kind of.
It's a mind. Yeah.
Yeah. I
I,
mean,
I'd put it in the same category, right?
yeah. I mean, because that's what Devin is good at. Devin is good at the puzzles, but he can't do anything endurance. But CT, he has endurance and is able to do a puzzle.
Let's get into the sleeping overnight thing, dude. Your wish was granted. A
I
2-day
know.
final. Yeah.
I was so happy. I was just like, oh, finally they get some rest, so they're not going to all be super groggy and burnt out the next day.
Exactly. The only thing that they had to endure overnight was the Casey Nani love story.
Oh God.
Okay, so
So what were
should we get
they? What
into?
were they eating? I could not quite tell. They were eating a lot of canned food. Was there like
Right,
tuna
yeah.
fish or like fruit in a can? I couldn't tell what it was.
I
It
don't
was
know.
like hobos eating a can of beans or something. It was great.
Yeah, that's right. You want to get into the morning? The morning
Sure.
elimination? Let's get up bright and early, get this shit done. So TJ's like, hey man, the orange cell was last. So you guys are gonna go against each other in an old the back off me thing where you strap back to back
Mm-hmm.
and then pull each other off or whatever. So right away, it took me a while to realize that I was upset, spoilers, that Nelson is eliminated. But it also made me upset that I'm like, I just accept that sort of shit in a final now. And it shouldn't be. I think if you are in a final, you get to participate the entire time, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You just spent 18 episodes or whatever surviving in the game to get to that final. Like, you're past elimination. There should be no more eliminations. You're just in the final. Like, if you can't swim or can't do a puzzle or don't have endurance, then you're going to lose in the final. But you still should be able to participate. It shouldn't be like, hey, we're going to strap you against Kyle, the guy who weighs 20 pounds more than you. He's like 6'1". I know you're only 5'8". So sorry, now you're eliminated. It's not fair to Nelson. Kyle seems to
No.
agree that it wasn't fair. He even said, he's like, it's just because I weighed more than you. He's like, this is a bogus way to go out.
Yeah. I think the first time we ever had elimination in a final, in a sense, was Rivals 2 when Camilla and Jemmy and Jordan and Marlon couldn't get off of Island 1 to get onto Island 2. Remember that?
Yeah, they had like the block puzzles.
Yep.
And they were like the
Yeah,
last
exactly.
team. So they just, yeah, I didn't care for that either. Because I
Yeah.
remember rewatching the season and I'm like, I swear they were in the final. Well, how did they do in the final? And then it was like, oh, they were in the final for like 12 minutes of the episode and then they were gone. And it was like, oh, what a bummer.
Yeah, and all the shit and vendettas, they had something like that, and also what was it, Total Madness, which I never watched, but Rogan volunteered to go against Bananas or something like that again because he's like, I died in Gibraltar, and like people don't remember that, but only he does. You know what I mean? He's haunted by that shit. It's crazy. Okay, so let's talk about Kyle defeats Nelson. We already covered that. I just have to say, I don't think I've ever seen Nelson so fucking downtrodden as he was then. And again, Nelson went like fucking all heart, all like, no matter what, the
Yeah,
previous
that's why I
day.
love Nelson. Like, he tries so fucking hard. He's great endurance. Like, he's a great athlete. And the problem is like, he runs it. Usually you don't have this many puzzles along the way. Like, maybe you'll have one or two, but he's like, hey, I'll overcome those. I'll make up for it. But then they just kept hitting him with more and more puzzles, and then an elimination. And then I thought it was kind of bogus, the fact that they were having eliminations between this team. And the reason that they were fighting against each other was they were on that team together because they didn't finish the puzzle first. And then you have a team that was really good at puzzles versus a team that's really bad at puzzles doing puzzles against each other. So then obviously the team that's really good at puzzles, CT's team, was going to win that. And then, yeah, they had some endurance stuff in there, but then it was always at the end of the endurance. It was like, we'll throw some puzzles at the end to make sure it knocks you back.
Yeah.
I just felt like they got punished. It wasn't fair.
Speaking of which, the previous episode ended on that one puzzle. That's with like all the wires and stuff. You got to make sure the wires all connect.
Yep.
It's something they'd done before in this season. But recently on an interview, Tori was like, actually, that puzzle was so difficult, not for Devin or CT, but for the rest of us, that producers actually had to come and help them. Like they actually they're like, okay, everyone stop. We're all going to put the same piece for you guys just to help you out. But I guess they did it like 2 pieces or something like that because it was so difficult for everyone.
That's wild.
Yeah. So, and Tori said, I was 45 minutes behind Devin. Isn't that nuts?
Holy shit. That's
That
insane.
is crazy. Yeah,
I
exactly.
was
So
thinking, I'm like,
this,
oh, we've seen that puzzle before. They know how to do this. Like, come on.
yeah, that's
That's
why I'm
insane.
shocked. That's crazy. Okay, so
Nani
next
versus
we have
Casey.
yes, or was it Nani versus herself esteem? Because remember, she was like, she was like, Casey has a better chance of winning this thing, and Casey was like, you got to try now, and she's like, yeah, you know, Nani is always going to be that way. She's like, you know, like you could try, but you're not going to, and even when you do, you're not going to win, and you even
Well,
know that yourself. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
ah,
she has a fear of failure a little bit, so she knows that Casey's a little bit better than her, so she doesn't want to fight against her. And like that's kind of the problem with her being like, "Oh, I want to run the final and cross the finish line with Casey." It's like you guys probably aren't going to be a team. Like it's going to be you versus her, and then it ends up being her versus her, and it was like, well, now you got what you wish for. So
yeah. I
I don't
thought it
know.
was weird that they were tied together, scissor style, unlike the guys, which were back to back. I was like, TJ, oh,
Were they? Are you what?
no. That is what we call in the movie business a joke.
Oh, okay.
And we're not even in the movie business. Okay, so were you emotionally affected by two lovers forced to go against each other in elimination?
I was not emotionally affected by it, other than the fact that I thought it was bullshit. I was like, they shouldn't even be facing each other. And even though that they are facing each other, they're not even going to really try because they both love each other. So it's like it was salt on the wound of like they shouldn't even be doing this because Nani, she's not going to try and stop Casey from winning, and Casey,
Uh,
she's just, it was just like I'm watching all of this, and in the meantime, I'm on my DVR and I'm hitting pause, and I'm like, okay, there's 21 minutes left in this episode, and we're just sitting here watching people cry in the dirt, and people are patting each other on the head and hugging each other, and I'm like, this is supposed to be a final, and I'm just sitting here, and we have 20 minutes of an elimination, so it was super annoying to me.
yeah, yeah, it really was. It was like, you know, I could feel something, I suppose, but there was so much time dedicated to this. The sadness of them going against each other, not necessarily Nani losing, though. I don't, you know, I didn't really care about that. But it was weird that they had to go against each other, but not the first time. Can you remember another time, Dave, when people that loved each other had to go against each other in elimination?
Yeah, was Evelyn involved?
Well,
And
that's more like
Kellyanne?
friendship love. They weren't romantically attached, but they did love each other.
Not
So
that we
so
know of.
sure, I'll give that to you. Oh yeah, yeah. The island, man. I heard there was a lot of blackouts, a lot of like, oh, where am I? What? Who is this? You know,
Those aren't coconuts.
those are bananas. uh, or walnuts. Wasn't Paula Walnuts on that one as well?
Okay, what one are you talking about?
um, Bloodlines. Abram and his cousin versus Cara Maria and her cousin, but technically their cousins went against each other, but technically those cousins went against Zach and or CT. That was so messed up.
That was like a diffusion of labor where it was just like, everyone passing the buck.
Oh man. Okay, well, hey, guess what? KC defeats Nani. Um, so now the eliminators get to choose their partners. And right away I'm like, okay, this is when Kyle and Devin realize, oh, okay, we're not going to go against we're not going to run with CT. We're going against him now. And this is when Tori realizes, like, oh, I'm not going to run with CT. I'm going to go against CT because Casey just chose CT, you know? It was
Mm-hmm.
just a big oh damn, because didn't TJ say like this is the last part right here, you
Yeah,
know?
this is the last leg of the final.
Yeah, it's so weird. And like I think CT in an interview was like, Casey and I, we never talked until that final or some shit like that, like at that very moment. So yeah, it's so like bizarre. Spoilers when they win, that CT's like, yeah, and like it's like they just met, you know, like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, yeah, that was
There's
it's
no
definitely
emotional
strange.
connection.
Because, like,
Yeah.
yeah, with last year with Amber B, they started that final together, and it was a long journey together. So at the end, when they win, they're both hugging, and it's a genuine moment. But then in this one, it's like you and Casey just got partnered up like 35 minutes ago. Like,
Yeah. Oh Jesus. So yeah, Casey chose CT, thus sealing her fate. Kyle chose Tori, which out of them was the better pick, I suppose. Devin was with Emmy, and Devin was like, we worked together before, which I completely forgot about because I don't want to remember Emmy. So glad this is over with in terms of that.
so you don't like Emmy?
No.
I didn't like her either. My girlfriend Brooke loves her. She was like, Emmy's so much fun. And I'm like,
uh,
no, I'm like, she's just playing up her quirky personality and she's being over the top with it. It doesn't seem
yeah,
natural anymore. But
we always get one of these people every season. Remember,
what do you mean these people? Romanians?
let's just move on here. So the safe code, that's it, really. I mean, what's there to say? There was climbing. Devin again starts to gas out.
Yeah. But okay, so like them running up to the top of that little peak and looking at the numbers and then running back down. We all watched and saw why CT and Casey won because they get to that mountain and they're like, well, how do I climb up it? And everybody, single file, like CT and Casey are first. They're all just walking in a circle around the mountain and they can't find a good way to climb up it. And CT just said, fuck it, and started sprinting up it. Like, I'm just taking off. And then Kyle and Tori are like, oh, maybe we should run up it too. And they're just running right behind them. It's like if they would have taken the initiative to just climb that freaking thing rather than circling around it trying to find the best way, maybe they would have gotten up there first. And once CT and Casey get up there, they're just looking at the numbers and they're kind of just everyone's just kind of waiting in single file to look at the numbers. They don't all look together. I don't know. It was very strange to me.
Yeah. And then it takes a while. I think CT and Casey take off, and then Devin finally gets there. I'm not really sure, but
Yeah.
I just remember Devin saying like, "Okay, now that we're here, let's just memorize all of this, so we won't make a mistake when we get down there." Because that's what the other two do, right? Don't they start both incorrect answers and shit?
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about like a guess at the end. It seemed like, right? It was
No, I
nuts.
don't think it was a guess. I
Well,
think
I mean, like they couldn't memorize it. They kept on putting in their codes, and it was incorrect. They were off by a number or so. That's why I'm like,
well,
guess. I
it,
guess that's
it's
not
it
what it
seems
is.
like with CT and Casey was just like put your number in first, and CT was like, well, no, you have to put your number in first because you had the first numbers on the
Oh,
board.
really?
Like, duh. So
Oh, I didn't even
you
notice
know,
that.
so yeah, she was trying to do hers first, and he's like, no, you do yours, then I'll do mine because I had the second set of numbers. But it seemed kind of like the way they edited that together. I don't feel like they really screwed it up a lot or were kind of guessing. It seemed like it was just stupid editing by them to make it appear that way, like it was really CT and Casey trying to figure it out at the same time as Kyle and Tori. But I think CT and Casey, I think they definitely had it. I think they got there first and they were standing there like and probably entered it incorrectly I would say before even Kyle and Tori got there, or at least as they were getting there. But they kind of made it
Yeah.
seem like, like, oh, they're doing it at the same time. I'm like, yeah.
Well, CT and Casey, they open it up, and then Tori claims, after they get theirs, they're like, "Oh, they beat us by like 10 seconds and shit like that." That's gotta hurt. But you know what? Out of all three, I'm glad CT won. I'm not ready to accept Kyle as a champion, or Tori really. Like her
I
ego
was.
is still out of control. Yeah,
I
yeah.
was totally willing to have Kyle and Tori be challenge champions. I thought it would have been
Wow.
great. However, that was before this final. In this final, we saw Kyle not do that well. I was not overly impressed. Like, Kyle definitely has a lot of heart and a lot of grit, but he's super lax in the puzzles. His endurance is fine, but he sucks at puzzles, and he's kind of like the opposite of Devin in a final, where Devin's really good at puzzles but sucks at endurance. That's kind of what Kyle is, and it's just like, Devin, Kyle, you don't deserve to win a final if you're like that.
Oh shit. Okay.
Because I don't
All
know,
right.
and their personalities don't make up for it. At least like Nelson, he's deficient in certain areas, but at least Nelson's personality, like, he's likable. He's like, you want to root for him.
Well, if Devin were to become champ, that means I would have to see Emmy become champ, and I just wasn't ready for that. No.
That would have been rough.
My doctor says don't watch too much Emmy for your blood pressure. I'm like, all right, doc. Okay. So, oh yeah, go ahead.
I was like, can we talk about the grievances of this final? Like, what we didn't like about it, the overall structure, why it was broken, was because nothing mattered until after the elimination. Everything that happened prior to that elimination was thrown away. That was all just preamble to see who would go in elimination against each other. Once the elimination happens, all it was a run up that rock, do the puzzle, and come back down. That's the only thing that really mattered in the final. It was just, everything else was just trying to set up who your partner was going to be. So it's like, everything we watched prior, it didn't even fucking matter other than who was going to end up in the eliminations. They didn't take your time from your race and everything you were doing like back then, and then like
race. What does race have to do with it, Dave?
Racing, amazing
critical race theory, motherfucker. No, I don't know. I don't mean that at all. Yes, that, you know what, that actually opened my eyes a lot, because I know that there were problems with it, but again, I didn't focus on it. I just remember the positive charges, because with all that being said, I'm blindsided by the money splitting thing, because this is my last memory of the final, right?
Yeah.
This is where it's like, hey, whoever wins, you get to decide if you want to share and how much you want to share and shit like that. So when CT and Casey did say like, hey, we'll just keep 400K each and then give everyone else 50K, it was kind of heartwarming. I don't know. So that's why I choose to ignore how shitty it was. A shitty final. That's true. That is very true. Yeah. But it ended on a positive note. There was no strike three in terms of people saying like, fuck you, I'm an asshole, I'm going to keep all the money and I'll just make up reasons why. You know what I mean? Or was CT so tired, he's like, I can't think of any legitimate reasons to take the cash. You know what I mean? Well, but that would have been great.
CT has a soul.
Yes.
Johnny Bananas does not have a soul. Johnny Bananas doesn't care.
Or Ashley.
At least Ashley. I really hate Ashley too, but at least she had like a legitimate reason to try and fuck over Hunter, or at least she presented it that way, that he was such an asshole that I could buy into it. But with Bananas taking it from Sarah, like, Sarah was the whole reason that that Bananas was there and winning a final. Like, Sarah was amazing that season. She's always been, nice and pleasant. There was, I don't know. Bananas didn't have a valid reason. Ashley, you can make the argument.
They no, hey, a lot of banana fans are going to be like, Dave, do you not remember her betrayal of him on X's 2?
It wasn't a betrayal.
Yeah,
Someone
but
had to get thrown in. And
I
it was just
agree.
like, who's going to get thrown in against Leroy? Is it going to be Bananas? Or who was the other team there?
Yeah. No, but
Was it
that's
West?
bananas fans. They're hardcore. They're like they wear the banana hats. They have the fucking what do you call it? What is that thing? Bobblehead. The banana bobblehead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like that, like Sarah was forced to make a decision in the game. That's part of the game. You have to make a decision. Hunter saying like mean shit about Ashley and her family and slut shaming her, that was not part of the game. That was just him kind of being an asshole towards her. So like I can buy that as an argument to keep the money. Like
Yeah.
Sarah just playing the game, that's not her being an asshole.
I like it. Ashley could have taken the money from me because I'm pretty sure I slut shamed her in the past.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shame on
Y'all
Ashley.
fucking.
Remember, yeah, even this year, Nelson and Ashley were together. Like, how dare they?
Oh fuck! I forgot about that. Nelson was all over the place, motherfucker. He was with Berna and stuff like that.
I know.
He's
I
like,
hated Nelson at the beginning of this year, but then he like once the girls were gone out of the situation, then I started to like him again. I'm like, all right, you can be my pal again. Then we get to the final, and then he sucks.
You sound like a jealous friend. You're like, oh, man, these fucking girls would leave him alone so Nelson and I could be together.
It's supposed to be bros night.
Yeah.
Bros before hoes. Talking to you.
Okay,
Ashley.
so how do you feel? You would get with Ashley though if she was like, fuck Nelson. If he wants to fuck Berna, Dave, what are you up to right now? You feeling stiff? And you're like, I guess.
No, I would have gotten with Berna.
No, that would have broke
but
Nelson's
not with
heart.
Ashley.
No, either way, you're going to be an Eskimo brother to Nelson, no matter who you hook up with. So I suggest don't do it. All right. So how do you feel about this overall, though? First of all, did you think he was going to split the money, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
how do you feel about all this?
Yeah, I figured they were going to split the money. Like, at least like they were given the opportunity to like choose the amount. Where with Bananas, he had to choose 50% or 100%. So if Bananas could have chosen like 80%, he probably. I'd like to say he would have done it, but I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't have.
What that is it. Yeah, that's a whole new wrinkle to the whole thing, especially with Ashley. Maybe Ashley's like, you know what, $1, bitch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go see your mother at the fucking strip club, asshole.
Is Hunter's
That
mom
would've been
work at a
great.
strip club?
I don't know. Not on Saturdays. The veterans get to set their own schedule, I hear. So, all right. Okay, but how do you feel though? How do you feel that when you said Kyle, Devin don't deserve to be champions, yet they got 50 grand each? That, like, I think Jarrell, when he won his first two, didn't equal 50 grand.
Well, inflation is real, man. 25 grand back then is equal to 50 grand now.
Okay, but like, you know, like Amy was just like, I don't understand what she was annoying to the very fucking end.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
She
was like Romania and shit like that. I'm like,
shut
the fuck up.
Okay, so at the very end of this episode, there was a rainstorm that came through, and my satellite feed kind of cut out, like right after he announced who was going to get what amount of money. So I didn't watch probably the last 2 minutes of the episode. If they're hugging and congratulating and talking, I missed any of that. So
yeah, I don't remember too much. It was just like, you know, what could. It was overall positive. Like $50,000. If you got third, like second, that is that's fantastic. It left me warm and fuzzy inside, Dave.
Yeah. I don't
You
know.
know,
I felt like it's not a whole lot compared to 400,000,
Jesus
which CT
Christ.
was getting.
Well, no shit, it
Like,
isn't. But like, you're gonna. Okay, so oh my god, I would love to see this in a show. Like, replace Devin with you. You know what I mean?
okay.
And you get in third place, and he's like, "How about 50 grand each?" And you're like, "Fuck you." You're like, was a chump change? Like, that kind of reminds me of when Wes got third place in Fresh Meat, his very first. He's like, whoever says that good job for 15 grand could suck my dick or something like that. It was one of the greatest things
I
I've
don't
ever
remember
heard
that.
about. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like somebody should have been like, there are 6 people standing here. We should divide it 6 ways. You know, everyone gets an equal amount, equality. Like, come on.
No. Well, you know what though? Who made that call? Was CT just like, hey, what are you gonna do? Be fucking greedy, Casey? You know, because Casey, maybe she had a totally different idea. You know what I mean? I wonder who was the big giver in out of the two. I just think CT demands, like, he takes command all the time, so it was probably his idea. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, it did seem like the logical amount to do. You get 400,000, everybody else gets 50,000. That's mathematically, it's 80% for the winners and 20% split up between the final 4 or the bottom 4.
I didn't see it that way. I thought it was extremely generous. I would have given third place less than second. That's what I would have done.
Yeah, but I
For
think
sure.
CT likes Devin more than he does Kyle. Maybe if Kyle was
Well,
in
then give
last
Kyle
place,
less.
then he'd be like, Kyle, are we really even friends? I don't know.
That would have been amazing. Where like everyone gets 50K, or well, to make the math work or whatever, except Kyle, he gets like, I don't know, 5 grand or something like
Yeah.
that. Or $1. He's like, go see Hunter's mom at the strip club to tie it all together. But yeah, that was the end. I think, like I said, I just remember this final for Nelson's heart and determination. Like, I loved his just like, and he's just like breathing hard. He's giving it his all. It's throwing that ball and shit like that. I loved all that. I wanted a full on Nelson versus CT rematch. We really, I mean, we kind of got it, but not really,
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there was always teams and partners and
So was this one of the worst finals, despite the positive ending?
I think it definitely wasn't the worst final, but I think it was pretty bad. Just for the fact that it seemed like to me as watching it, the beginning portion of the final didn't seem to matter other than was just building up to an elimination. Then we have an elimination, then you reset teams, and then the final actually started on that last leg. Like that's the only thing that mattered towards winning the money was that last leg. So when I want to see it a grueling race where it goes not the course of 2 days. Like screw
There
that.
you go, bringing
Just
up race again, Dave. You want to see a grueling race?
oh my god, it's a homonym. There's multiple meanings. All right, Vince. I want to see the race start at 6 in the morning, and then they go across country where it was like in Free Agent, or no, not Free Agents, Battle of the Seasons, where it's just a super long, grueling thing through the desert. They're sweating. You have every team has got like a slow person on their team, and everybody else is bitching and yelling at them, and it's grueling. And then you have like a puzzle along the way, and then I think that was a really good final. It was such a brutal final because people were backstabbing their own teammates and yelling at each other. But like that setup of a final is what I like.
Right. Yeah. So this might be maybe not the worst because there are some peaks and valleys emotionally. But I'll say like fucking one of the worst was like Rivals 3. I hated that fucking final. But hey, man, you know what? We're done with it. This was the end of the episode. This was the end of the season, and God help us, there's not a third spy-themed season next season. Holy shit.
Oh, it's gonna be like Tomorrow Never Dies. Like, we got to come up with a James Bond movie that they're gonna rip off the name of it.
Well, you know what though? I can't. Nothing's coming to mind. You're more of a James Bond fan than I am, but I'll just say this: if I were a James Bond fan, like they're like, they're like, oh, you like spies, huh? It's almost like when your dad catches you smoking cigarettes, like, oh, you like to smoke, huh? Smoke a whole carton of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, we heard Vince likes spy shit, so we're gonna make him watch 2 whole seasons of spy-themed shit.
You remember when we were kids, that movie Matilda, where the kid's like, oh, I like chocolate cake. It's like, all right, you get to eat the whole freaking cake. And then you just got to eat the whole thing. And you're just like, oh my God, that would make me sick.
So now, I don't want to hear about no Spectres. I don't want to hear about no Golden Eyes. I'm done with it, Dave. Done with it.
From
Mission
Russia
Impossible.
with Love. Or
Romania with Love.
Diamonds Are Forever.
You know what I say to all that? Dr. No. Yeah. So. Well, that was the end of the episode. Do we have time to do the award ceremony? If not,
quickly
sign off right now.
Do it in like 5 or 6 minutes.
5 or 6. Jesus Christ. Okay. All right. Here we go. So this is a award show that I came up with years ago when I started podcasting this. So I usually name 5 men and 5 women, depending on how they identify. And then I choose a best male challenger and a best supporting male challenger, and the same with the females: best female challenger, best supporting female challenger. Right? For the males, or what do you want to do first? Male, female?
Doesn't matter.
God damn it, male! You got to take command here, otherwise.
Well, I don't want to choose one over the other.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Right now, I have Josh for the nominee. Like, he was great. Even though he didn't get as far as he should have, and I wanted him to. Great improvement. I've never experienced that before, ever, where someone who I completely could not tolerate is all of a sudden awesome. Yeah, so he gets the first nomination. Second, we have Devin, and this is in no particular order at all. I just wrote down names. I have Devin. I feel like Devin was in, like, just by his confessionals alone, he got a nomination just because he's like, I'm so smart and brilliant and shit like that, you know?
Yeah. His ego is a little much, but he was always in a power position this whole season.
And he worked well. I do remember him taking charge in like puzzle scenarios, teamwork scenarios and shit like that. Next, I have CT. This is mostly out of just winning. I don't really remember. I mean, he did win a lot of puzzles throughout the season. Mm-hmm. And people wanted to be next to him, especially in the cell scenario, you know? So I feel like he was kind of boosted up. I'm not saying he wins any award. I'm just saying he deserves a nomination at least, right? Next, I have Nelson. We just talked about like hooking up with chicks, man, and then fucking tossing them aside when they were they were all. And then his performance in the final and shit like that. But even when he was on Ruby Cell, you know, he was the only guy trying to say like, let's fucking get it together, you know, like we don't suck, we can do this and shit like that. Like Nelson all over the place, right? Mm-hmm. And then finally, the other nomination, I put Kyle.
Yeah. Okay. That's who I was expecting you to say.
Yeah. I don't know why. A lot of heart in elimination. He was kind of annoying because he was didn't he betray someone? He betrayed Devin or something like that. He messed something up. Remember that?
During a mission? I think he did that like twice this season.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe it was
like the cells were trying to work together or something.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like I feel like Kyle gets a nomination just because everybody hated him so much and he still managed to stick around. It was kind of shocking he was able to stick around as long as he did.
Yeah, and he got 50 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, so now out of those five, who gets supporting, who gets best? Josh, Devin, CT, Nelson, and Kyle.
I want to give
I,
supporting
I,
to Josh, and some of that might be just the fact that I expected so little and I felt like he performed so well, or at least, in many ways he performed well.
I agree with that. He gets best supporting. And I think Nelson gets best. Because CT was kind of in the background. Nelson got a lot of camera time for different things, you know. It wasn't just missions and shit. He had a good performance in the final despite losing. His friendship with Corey, his two fuck buddies, you know, that's
Yeah.
that's that's character building right there.
And
It's fleshing out of character.
one more thing to add to Nelson. Nelson was the only reason that in deliberation he was the only person who would ever actually like keep things interesting, because on two different occasions he would just like start insulting people in deliberations and then like kind of like start like a little miniature fight, because everyone else would just sit there and say nothing, but Nelson would actually be like, hey, come on. He's like, oh, look what you're doing now, like talking some shit, and it was like good. Like Nelson understands the point of deliberation.
That's awesome. All right, so yeah, Josh, best supporting, Nelson, best.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I feel like CT should maybe get it because of the whole Uncle CT, everybody fighting to get on his cell because they know he's such a good competitor. They want to be on his team. So I feel like,
right.
but for just watching the season and like we expect a certain level of play from CT. So when he delivers on it, we're not overly impressed. But with other people, when they overshoot our expectations, we want to reward them for that.
Yes, let's talk about the females, brah.
All right.
Okay. First I have nominated Priscilla. I like Priscilla because she was the first rookie to change shit up, to make the
Yeah.
first non rookie pair or whatever it was. She changed the algorithm or whatever. And then when she was put in, she went out calling out Ashley of all people. Like I was like, those are some cojones right there.
Yeah, she's got some guts. I appreciate it.
Um, and then also she fucking got rid of Berna, who was very good in elimination as well. I thought those two going head to head was kind of cool. Okay, next I have Emmy. I'm not going to give her anything but the nomination. What she do? 4 elimination wins, right?
Yeah.
Throughout the
All the girls
season.
were terrified of her. She had
So was
size
I.
on most of them. She's taller and thicker, and she could just beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, and she had a #1 hit song. I mean, it's hard to compete with that.
Alien? Is
It
that what it
wasn't
was
number
called?
one. I'm just saying. Yeah, something like that. Alien. I'm an alien. Whatever. Those were the only lyrics. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the original lyrics were illegal alien, but who knows?
What else would she be nominated for? I don't know. I found her annoying. But those who are constantly like crying after a win or like getting angry, you're showing emotions, I guess. So that's enough for a nomination. Next, we have Tori. I don't, this is the only one I'm not so strongly about. She kind of did what she typically does. I don't even know why I nominated her, actually. She's really hot. She's so goddamn pretty, Dave. That's probably it.
I mean, she's one of the strongest female competitors out there for sure.
So she
I'm
at
like,
least gets the nomination, right?
yeah, for sure. She gets the nomination. And she was in a relationship with Emmanuel. She's a super strong competitor. She made gutsy moves when they when she changed cells to the Ruby cell, she was working with them, and she kind of, backstabbed Devin's team and wasn't helping them anymore. She was out there for herself, and I respect that.
Next, we have Casey. Points for the relationship. But I also will say, though, it was intriguing just to watch her blindly take sides with the wrong guy out of the Big Brother thing, to go with Fessy instead of Josh, when Josh is all of a sudden very good and Fessy is a fuck up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then for her to just blatantly lie to Amber B, like, no, Josh has changed. He's not going to put you in. She knew damn well Fessy was aiming for Amber B. You know what I mean? So I saw a lot of different facets of Casey this season, and she won, so that helps. That deserves the nomination.
Yeah, I hope that Casey realizes she doesn't need Fessy in the future, and that she doesn't align herself with him, because he's a liability. He backstabs everybody, and I'm not saying he's going to backstab Casey, but he's going to backstab everyone else in their alliance together. So he's not, and people are going to go after him in the future. He can't be trusted. So
yeah, cut him loose, Casey. And then finally, I have Amber B. I feel like as soon as she showed up on the show, girls were like, fuck that bitch, she's fake and shit like that, when really they were intimidated. She was put in a bunch of eliminations, constantly being lied to by Big Brother and shit like that. I just thought that as soon as she was there and until she left, she was a focus in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those are the 5 nominees. Okay, so who we got to decide. So Priscilla, Emmy, Tori, Casey, and Amber B. Who gets best? Who gets supporting?
It's tough. I want to give Tori. I want to give her something.
Yeah, I know, right?
I know you feel the same way.
I think that's how she got the nomination, where I'm just like, yeah. But I can't think of why, though, because think of who you would be denying. I think Amber B should get something, maybe supporting. I think she was a huge focus on the show because she was really good. I mean, it might have gone to her head, but wouldn't it go to your head? Come on.
Well, I just don't feel like she was there long enough. But
yeah, but that's the beauty of it. Fucking, Anthony Hopkins won the Oscar, and he was only on the movie for like 8 minutes total or something like that. You remember that?
Yeah.
Amber B is the Anthony Hopkins of Spies, Lies, and Allies.
That is the worst comparison I've ever heard.
I swear to God. Okay, who else? Who you want to give something to Emmy?
No, I think it should go to Tori. And then
there's 2 though.
What's that?
There's 2 awards, so you give one to Tori. Who else gets the other one?
It's going to be Casey, just because she won. Even though she was incredibly boring this entire season, all she did was make out with Nany.
No. Like I said, she was lying to Amber B. She was choosing Fessy over Josh. These aren't great things, but they're interesting things to watch. I don't know.
True.
Yeah, and then she wins, although at the last leg. But then she had to go against her only love when they were tied together ass to ass, and they had to fucking push each other off the ramp or whatever.
And the only reason Casey won this year is because she got to pair up against Nany and beat Nany in elimination, who basically rolled over and let her win. So the only reason that Casey wasn't even running that fast in the final. Like, she was pretty below average the entire time until she gets to go against Nany, and then suddenly she gets to choose CT as her partner, and then she's a front runner. You know what? I don't want Casey to win at all. Take it back.
All right, so we're giving Tori something just because we both are madly in love with her, but that's not fair.
It's because she's a strong competitor.
Oh, right. Sometimes I forget. Okay, but who else gets something else? I feel like Emmy should get. I don't know. No, I don't want to give
What about
anything to her though.
Amanda? Maybe we need to give something for Amanda.
No, Amanda doesn't try anymore. I mean, uh, maybe she has a good confessional every once in a while, but that's about it. Yeah. See, this is where it all falls apart, and we gotta close this up.
Let's wrap this up. Yeah.
Okay, so we're giving Tori something just because.
Because she's a strong competitor. That's why.
Yeah, but so are these. So are these people. Okay, fine. Tori, you get something. I haven't decided yet, though. Yeah. I think, okay, out of everyone else, though, Priscilla, Amber B, Emmy, Casey. I want to give Amber B something. I think, or Priscilla, one of those two. Okay. Or probably Amber B. Amber B.
Okay, sure.
So Amber B gets supporting, and Tori gets best.
Yeah.
That does not seem right to me at all.
You know, at the end of the show, we're going to be like, okay, Ashley, sorry, we read from the wrong envelope, you know? Give it to somebody else.
You know what? I like that. I like that. We're going to make a mistake. We're going to say La La Land won when really Moonlight won, you know?
Yeah.
So best goes to Tori, and supporting goes to Amber B. And so that was the show, Spies, Lies, and Allies. Like, subscribe, comment. This was Battle of the Challengers podcast with Vincent Cloud.
Famous Dave.
Oh, and we got a mix up in the envelopes. Tori, she didn't actually win. Oh, it was actually